facilities. So these slides which I have shared with you are from two chapters, because parking study that discussed in chapter 4 and uh, design of parking facilities is discussed in chapter 15. So I've combined them together in these slides. So some part of these slides, the initial few slides are from chapter 4, and then the remaining are from chapter 15. So let us begin with the discussion about the need of doing parking study. Why do we need to study parking areas? Why do we want to plan for them? The reason is very obvious, because all our vehicles spend majority of their time in the parking areas. You have 24 hours in the day, like so out of 24 hours, I think more than 20 hours are vehicles in the parking lots. Okay, especially in Bahrain, where you cross the land after 2 hours, right? So you need to plan for the areas where your vehicle will be in most of the times. Okay, if you don't plan for them, what will happen? Uh, you will not find parking spaces where they're required, and in that case, people will be parking in irregular and illegal manner, and they will endanger the flow and safety of others, or they will keep on looking for the parking space, and again they will cause congestion. Okay, so there are studies in which people have studied what causes congestion, or the congestion caused by the people who are looking for the parking spaces. There are studies in which people have found that the people who are looking for parking spaces can also cause congestion, because obviously they are moving slowly, they are stopping and starting, checking, they don't have any any place else to go, so obviously they are hindering the others as well. Now, the need for parking spaces is more in CBD areas. Okay, and what do we mean by CBD areas? I have used this term earlier as well. It means Central Business District, and these are the areas which have businesses and commercial activities. A similar area in Bahrain will be diplomatic area. Okay, it's not a totally commercial area because it has embassies and ministry offices, but the parking situation and the congestion situation in the area is very severe. So I had two projects in the last few years about the congestion situation in diplomatic area, and one of them was related to parking. Okay. Now, why parking spaces are becoming more important? Because of the increase in use of automobiles or cars. Okay, so there are, I think, in almost all the countries of the world, the number of cars are increasing day by day or year by year, and also the cars are used as a feeder. Feeder meaning connection. Feeder meaning connection to reach to the transit systems, the transit or the public transport systems. So some countries have very good public transit systems. Countries in Europe and Turkey and even country like Dubai, they have good public transport systems in the form of metros and rails and so on. But there are few people who are living away from these systems. For example, when I went to UK, I was living with a friend and who was living outside London. Okay, so he told me that there are people who are living with around them, and they go to London for work every day. Okay, and to get to from their area to the railway station, they use a car. Or they used to use a car or a taxi or something. Okay, so that's a feeder service. Okay, so you want to use a railway system or the public transport system because it is fast, it is cheap, and you don't have to worry about the parking problems in the destination. But the railway station, the public transport station is not near your house. The metro station or whatever is not near your house. Then governments provide park and ride service there. So they provide a parking space there. People can come on their cars and to the parking lot. They park their car and then take the metro or the transit or the rail service to reach to their destination. Okay, so this is what we call a park and ride service. So obviously, countries who have very fast and very efficient public transport system, even for those countries, cars are being used as connections to get to the stations. Okay, so this is why. So again, with a good public transport system is parking facility as well. Okay, this is my point. So you have to find out how much is the demand for the parking area. Demand meaning how many people want to use it. How much supply you are providing in these parking areas. Supply meaning number of spaces you are providing basically. Basically number of spaces you are providing. And then you have to do the projection for future as well. what will be the parking in future, parking demand in future. Okay, so these are the main objectives of doing a parking study. Now let us go through some definitions, some things before we start the analysis. So parking facilities can be divided into two categories: on street and off street. Okay, on street means on street doesn't mean in the middle of the street. Okay, none of you should park in the middle of the street and blame me. Dr. Nev was saying this is on street parking. No, on street means on the side of the road, on the side of the road without any separation. Okay, so there is no separation, physical separation, a barrier or something between the parking space on the side of the road and the street itself. Okay, but the space is allocated for parking. We are not talking about parking anywhere. Like your car is broken down, or you just don't feel like driving and you park your car anywhere on the side and you say this is on street parking. No, on street parking means designated parking space on the side of the road. They are also known as curb facilities. Okay, curb we have discussed in chapter 15. These are the blocks by which you make the side of the road. So after these blocks you have the sidewalk and so on. In UK they call it pavement. Okay, I don't know why they call it pavement. Anyway, so the curb facilities are basically on-street parking facilities. Parking spaces are located on the side of the street or the road. Sometimes they are on one side, sometimes they are provided on both sides of the street. Okay. These parking spaces can be restricted with time or cost. So for example, in Saudi Arabia, I forgot the name. I think it was King Abdullah or some other highway like that in Khobar area, and it was restricted with time. So you can park on the side of the road when it is not peak hours. In the off-peak hours, you can park on the side of the. So spaces were there, but even those spaces were not available in the peak hours. Or you can restrict to the time, means paid parking. Park for this much time, you have to pay this much money. Okay, and in some cases you have a minimum as well. That if you park for less than, let's say, half an hour, then you don't pay anything. Okay, so there are facilities. So you can restrict it with time and cost. Facilities can be restricted for specific purposes as well. For example, handicap parking. So beside the gate of a bank or a hospital, you would always see a handicap parking. Okay, so these parking facilities are restricted for handicapped people only. Okay, and normally you will find them along all the major facilities. Okay, and they are usually near the gate. And similarly, you have bus stops. So bus stops are for buses. Okay, then you have loading bays, which are usually besides the store area or the warehouses, and they are for who? For trucks. Okay, so since the goods are loaded and unloaded, so it is easier for them to do it in front of the gate. So the parking facilities, on-street parking facilities, may be restricted for a specific purpose as well. On-street parking facilities affect the capacity and level of service of the streets as well. On-street parking facilities affect the capacity and level of service of the streets, because although it is on the side of the road, but when you are getting into a parking space, coming out of the parking space, you would be hindering others. Okay, you may actually block one of the lane because of your coming out or going in. You may be blocking one of the lane. Okay, so the time which you are taking for going in and coming out, you are blocking the flow. Okay, and the street is one lane only, then you can imagine how much interference you are causing. Okay, so capacity and level of service. LOS means level of service. LOS stands for level of service. This is basically the quality of flow of traffic. Quality of flow of traffic. So obviously you are stopping everybody else to come in and get out. So basically you are affecting the level of service. Then we have off-street parking facilities. So the main difference between on-street and off-street, I told you, there's a physical separation between the street and the parking facility. So you cannot just enter the parking facility from anywhere on the street. You have to enter the parking area itself, which has a specific entrance, and then you will park your car. Okay, and then again for coming out, you have a specific exit. Okay, so they a wall or a parking area. Okay, these off-street parking facilities can be private or public. Okay, so public means owned by the government. So the parking area which is owned by the government can be used by anybody, whether he is coming for one shop or another shop. They are open for everybody. Okay, so for example, if you go near the embassies or near where they have the government offices, Okay, so usually you will find a big parking lot there, which is on an empty land. Obviously, the land belongs to the government, right? So if they're allowing the parking there, that means it's publicly owned parking area. But it's off street, it's not on the side. There's a land. Okay, sometimes they make barriers around it, and sometimes just open, but it is completely away from the street. It is not on the side at all. Okay, so it's completely separated from the street. Okay, so this is publicly owned, and privately owned are, shopping malls, hotels. Okay, the ones which are inside the hotel, inside the malls are privately owned. Okay, even the one is in our campus is like a privately owned, although our university is a public university, but you cannot use that parking area if you are coming for let's say uh, Bahrain Training Institute, right? You will only use the parking area if you are coming inside the campus. And nowadays, it's more restricted, right? The publicly owned is for everybody. It will include surface lots and garages. Surface lots are bigger parking areas, usually open air. They don't have any roofs or something. Okay, sometimes they have, but the main thing is they have a lot of space. Okay, and garages are for limited number of vehicles, so maybe 2-3 vehicles. Okay, so the parking spaces which you have in your houses are basically garages. You call them garage, right? Call them garage. Don't call them surface lot, right? Surface lot is a bigger parking area. Okay, so the examples which I have given you, the parking areas in front of the government buildings and inside the malls, and so they are surface lots. Okay, they are not garages. Street parking can be self parking or tenant parking. We know self parking. You take your vehicle inside the parking area and you park it where you want, and then you leave the car there, and you will take it back when you take it from the same parking space when you come back. Okay. Attendant parking is what you come to the gate of your facility. Usually you will see it in big hotels, 5-star hotels where you provide the residence as well. So they have attendant on the gate. So no matter from where you are coming, you are going, you will come to the gate. You will give the key to the attendant, hoping that he is a very nice and honest person. He will take care of your car. So he will take your car to the parking space. He will park it there. He will keep the key, and you will when you come out, when you finish your business, you come out. You tell the attendant, I need my car, and hopefully, inshallah, he will bring the same car to you. Okay. So this is attendant parking, and this is like a very specific places. Okay, this is not very common. Okay, so usually it's for hotels and like exhibition centers or something. Some more definitions. These are related to parking terminologies. So space hour. The first one is space hour. Space hour means use of one parking space for 1 hour. Use of one parking space for 1 hour. So if I tell you 2 space hours, that means either one space was used for 2 hours or 2 spaces were used for 1 hour each. So 2 space hours. Now parking is measured in terms of space hours. Parking demand, supply, everything is measured in terms of space hours. Okay, so when you will tell me the demand for this area is this much, the units will be space hours. So space hour is a unit of parking demand and supply. Then we have parking volume. Parking volume is the number of vehicles which have used your parking area in the whole day, or whatever length of time you have specified for your area. Okay, usually it's a day, but it can be less than 1 day as well. So you can say my parking area is only used for 12 hours. Okay, after those 12 hours, the parking area is usually empty. I don't worry about it. So then parking volume will be the number of vehicles which have used your parking area in 12 hours. Number of vehicles which went inside your parking area in 12 hours. Okay, this is it. Then we have parking accumulation. Parking accumulation is the number of vehicles which are inside the parking area at a specific point of time. Okay, now do not confuse it with parking volume. Parking volume is for the entire duration. Parking accumulation is for a specific point of time. Okay, so parking accumulation can be taken at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Okay, so and each time you will get a different value. You will count how many vehicles are in the parking area at this time, and this is your parking accumulation. Okay, but some of those vehicles, when you come back after 2 hours, some of those vehicles may have left. So accumulation will be different. Okay, at that time, when you come back after 2 hours, the accumulation may be different. Earlier there were 10 vehicles, now there are 8 vehicles. But volume is cumulative. Volume is cumulative. So whoever entered from the first minute till the last minute is part of parking volume. Okay, so parking volume is for the entire duration. It's a continuous count, and accumulation is a one-time count which is restricted to a specific. So in this figure, you see the accumulation is taken after every hour, and every hour they have a new value. So they have plotted it, and then they join all the points, so they have accumulation curve. Okay, you cannot have, so volume is a single value which is for the whole day, but accumulation every hour you will have a different value. Okay, because accumulation for a specific point of time. Then we have parking load. Parking load is calculated as the area under the accumulation curve. Okay, you have the accumulation curve, take the area under the curve, you will have parking load. What will be the units? The units will be, you see on the y-axis, number of spaces occupied. On the x-axis, time. So the units will be space hours, right? Space hours. Okay. Now what does parking load indicate? Parking load indicates the usage of your parking area in a specific period of time. Okay, so if you see there is period of time, it starts from 8 a.m. and ends at 21. 21 means 11 p.m. right? So if you take the area under the curve for this figure, it will give you the use of the parking area in terms of space hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. For how many space hours the parking lot was used from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, this is what we call as parking load. Parking load is the use of the parking area in a specific period of time. Then we have parking duration. Parking duration is for how much time one vehicle has occupied a space. Okay, so each vehicle will have its own parking duration. Okay, now parking duration comes from accumulation data. Okay, so to collect accumulation data, what we do is, or we will discuss it later on. Okay, we will discuss it later on. So parking duration is, you see for how much time a vehicle has occupied a parking space. Okay, so some vehicles will occupy it for half an hour, some will occupy it for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So each vehicle will have its own duration, and then you can calculate the average. Okay, so you take the duration for all the vehicles which use the parking area and you calculate the average. Okay, this is known as parking duration. Okay, then parking turnover. Parking turnover is the rate of use of a single parking space. Rate of use of a single parking space. Okay, how many vehicles have used a parking space on average during your time period, during your specified time period? Okay, how do we calculate it? Parking volume upon number of spaces. Total number of vehicles which have used a parking area in the whole day upon number of spaces you have. So it will give you parking turnover rate. Okay, so for example, in the whole day, 200 vehicles have entered the parking area, and inside the parking area there are 50 spaces. Okay, now don't get shocked, it is possible because all 200 vehicles have not entered at the same time. Okay, so turnover rate will be eventually more than 1. Number of vehicles entering the parking area will be more than number of spaces they have, because all those spaces will not be occupied at a time. Some vehicles will come early, some vehicles will come late, some vehicles will leave early, some vehicles will leave late, and so turnover rate can be more than 1. Okay, parking volume will be more than number of spaces you have. If parking volume is less than number of spaces you have, then obviously parking area does not have any problem. Even if all the vehicles come at the same time, you have enough spaces to accommodate all of them. Okay, so then there's no problem. So if parking turnover rate is less than 1, no problem, but usually it is more than 1. Okay, so number of cars upon number of spaces. So the turnover rate will be cars per space. How many cars have used one space on average? Okay, so for example, parking volume is 200 and number of spaces are 50. So 200 upon 50, that means one space was used by 4 vehicles in the whole day. Okay, so in the whole day, 4 vehicles have used a space, some of them for 1 hour, some of them for 2 hours, and so on. Okay, so one space can be used by more than one vehicle because they will occupy the same space in different times. Okay, so this is what we call as parking turnover rate. Okay, so it gives you the rate of use of a single parking space in the whole day. Now, when you are doing parking study, you will collect these 4 types of information. The first one is inventory. The second one is collection of data from the parking area. Third one is identification of parking generator, which is a sort of an office study. And the fourth one is information on parking demand. Okay, and this is another sort of a study. So we are basically doing 4 different types of studies. Okay, so see, parking studies. The first study is about the inventory. Inventory means the record of existing items. The record of existing items. For example, if you are taking the inventory of a store, then the inventory of a store will be what items the store has now for sale. Okay, so the number of bill packs, the number of fruits, the number of copies and books and whatever, that will all be part of inventory. Inventory of a classroom may be number of chairs, projector, board, markers, okay, and dusters and whatever, okay, windows, doors. So there will be the inventory. The inventory of parking area will be number of spaces you have, but all spaces are not of the same type. So inventory is a little bit detailed for parking spaces. You don't say, okay, I have 100 spaces, that's it. No, you have to provide more detail. First of all, provide the detail about each type of parking spaces. So we have already discussed off-street parking and on-street parking. So in the entire area, how many on-street parkings you have, how many off-street parkings you have. Okay. Then, is there any limit on the operation of the parking space and the duration of the parking? For example, the parking space we have in the campus, that is only available if you are coming from morning till the evening. If you come at night, that space is no longer operational for you, because they will not allow you to enter. Okay, so that is no longer operational. Okay, similarly, so how many types of these spaces you have? The spaces which are not available for 24 hours. Okay, so this is restriction of time of operation. Then sometimes you have restriction of how much duration you can park. For example, the drop-off areas at the airport. If you park your vehicle and leave it there for 5 hours, they will tow it away, because those spaces are limited according to the duration. Okay, you cannot park for maybe more than 10-15 minutes there. Okay, similarly, emergency areas in the hospitals. So if you are picking up someone who cannot walk very far, or if you are dropping someone who is in the need of medical assistance, then you may go near the door of the emergency area. You park there maybe for 5-10 minutes till that person comes out or goes in, and that's it. But if you leave your car even for 20 minutes, they will fine you. They will tow your car away and so on. Okay, so there's a limitation on certain parking spaces for how much duration you can park. Okay. Similarly, in our campus, the parking area, the faculty parking area beside building 15, beside, not in front of it. Okay, beside building 15. So there used to be buses coming to that area to pick people to go to Sakhir or to come back from Sakhir. So these buses cannot just stand there for the whole day. They come there to wait for 10-15 minutes, and then they have to go. They have to go. Okay, so there's a limit on their duration as well. So how many spaces of these types you have? Okay, the spaces which you have, how many of them are privately owned and how many of them are public? So I told you public means owned by the government. Okay, are there any parking fees? And if there is, then what is the method of collection of parking fees? So in our case in Bahrain, you have these collection machines. You put the coins, you get the receipt. Okay. In some areas, I have seen it in Manama. I have seen some areas, they are private parkings, but since the area is so congested, they are offering the parking for anybody. So you can pay. So there's an attendant there. You pay the attendant, he will give you the receipt, and you park in that area. Okay. There are areas in Manama like that. Okay. So the method of data collection there is manual. And I have seen in Europe the parking area, the airport, when we landed, it was in Belgium. So when we landed in Belgium, and now I forgot the name of the city. See, so but anyways, so if you are parking in the airport, even in our airport, okay, you park, you have to pay, right? But there they pay through card. Okay, so they have machines there. okay, and you have a prepaid card. Okay, so you load the card, you recharge your card like you recharge your SIM. Okay, so you have the money in the card, and wherever you want to park in the whole country, you can use the same card. Okay, and in Turkey and maybe in Europe as well, I didn't try, but the same card can be used for paying the fare for the buses and for the trains as well. So you have one card which is multifunctional. You can use it for paying parking fees and for any other government expense, for any other transport expense. Okay, so you have to recharge your card like you recharge your SIM. Okay, so what is the method of data collection? Sometimes you can do it online as well. There are many online applications which allow you to pay for these things as well. Then do we have any restriction on the use of the parking space? Is it for anybody, or it is for general? Is it for general public, or is it for a specific type of client? So I already gave you the example of the campus, right? Another example is for what? The malls. So you park inside the mall, that means you are going to the mall, right? So parking spaces can be limited according to the type of people who can park there, according to their purpose. If you are coming to that facility only, then you can park there. Or you can have other restrictions. Okay, for example, the restriction for a specific type of car. Okay, so I told you, if there's a loading and unloading zone, then this is for trucks. You may have parking stops for buses, or you may have taxi stands as well. So taxi stands are very common near the bus stands and near hospitals and airports. Okay, so they are for specifically for taxis. Only taxis can park. Okay, so how many spaces of these types you have? Then degree of permanency of the facility. Okay, so this is not related to time of operation. Okay, this is for how many days the facility will remain there, the parking facility. Okay, so usually parking facilities are permanent. You build up a parking area and that is there. Okay, but in some cases, for example, next month, inshallah, you will have the celebrations of the national days, right? So these celebrations are continue for 2-3 days. Okay, in 2-3 days, you have some locations on which a lot of people go. So the parking facilities in that area may not be sufficient for the number of people who are going there. Okay, so what would you do in that case? You allocate some extra parking space for that activity. So that parking space will only be available for everybody for maybe 2-3 days. 2-3 days in which you have the activities. Okay, after these 2-3 days, that facility will no longer be available because there are no activities happening there. Okay, so permanency means for how many days the facility is allocated. Okay, so some facilities may be allocated for construction work. So if construction work is happening, you need some parking space for the vehicles of the contractors. You allocate a space, and once the construction is over, the space are gone. Okay, they will be used by someone else. Okay, so inventory includes all these things. You can make different sketches and tables for that. So you see one of a sketch here. So the whole area is divided into blocks, and each block has a code. You see the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the codes given to each block in the area. And then within each block, you see different numbers. Okay, so each number is assigned to the side of the block where you have the on-street parking. So you see block A has 4 sides on which on-street parking can be allowed. Okay, C, B as well. But if you look at M, we have 6 sides because of the shape of the block. See, all the blocks will not be rectangular or square. Blocks can be of different shapes, and due to the shape and due to the provision of the government, you may say, okay, on this block, in block A, this site is not available for on-street parking, so there will be no number assigned here. Okay, so the number is assigned to the side where the on-street parking is allowed. So you can see here. Okay, so on-street parking is allowed on these faces. Maybe some other type of facilities there. Okay, you can prepare a table like this. Let me make this table bigger. So these sketches and tables are prepared for the entire area. Okay, for the entire area. So first of all, you see block number. Okay, then identification of the facility, which facility you are talking about. So you identify with the name that this facility is, let's say, near city center, for example. Okay, parking facilities around city center. Okay, so you give some name so that the person who does not know about coding of the block, he can still identify which area you are talking about. Okay, so first of all, you will fill up the columns for off-street parkings. Fill up the column for off-street parkings. Okay, so off-street parking, how many parking spaces are for limited time, how many parking spaces for 24 hours. You just have to write the number, okay, but number in different columns. Okay, so you do not mix all the spaces and say this is okay, I will have 100. Now out of these 100, how many are for limited time and how many are for available for 24 hours. Okay, then how many parking spaces? Now the parking spaces, they are either calling it slots or stalls, meaning parking spaces. Slots or stalls means parking spaces. Okay, then how many off-street parking are private parking areas? How many off-street private parking spaces you have? So again, you mention the number. Okay, then the off-street parking lots. So these are for garages, private garages, and these are for surface lots. Okay, so in the surface lots, do you have any parking spaces for trucks? And if you have, are they metered or free? Metered means paid. Metered means paid. Okay, so if there are parking space, off-street parking spaces in surface lots for trucks which are paid, you mention it here. If they are for cars, you mention it here. If they are free for trucks, then you mention it here. If they are free for cars, you mention it here. Okay, so these are the columns for the off-street parking, and then these are the columns for on-street parking. You can see curbside parking. Curbside means on-street. Okay, so again, you have to mention the number for each type of parking space. Curbside parking, on-street parking are often, so first of all, some of them can be free. So if they are free, you will write it in these 4 columns. And if they are metered, then you write it in these 4 columns. Metered means again paid. Okay, and then you do the total in the end. So you see curbside parking are, you have 4 columns, parallel, 90 degree, 60 degree, 45 degree. You must know about them. If you have the license, they must have taught you about different alignments of the parking spaces. But just for the sake of this lecture, I will make it here as well. So this is your curb, the side of the road. Okay, if your car is assigned to be parked like this, if the parking space is made like this is parallel parking. Okay, and if your car is to be parked like this is 90 degree parking. And then in between them, you have 45 and 60 degree. Okay, so within an area, you may have all of them. So how many of the free curbside parking spaces are parallel? How many of them are 90, 60, 45? And how many of the metered or paid parking spaces on the side of the road are parallel 90, 60, and 45? Okay, so you have to mention all these things. So this is a chart which you can prepare for the parking spaces in the entire area. Then there is another different type of study which is done along major arterials. Major arterials. Okay. Usually major arterials which are taking you from one city to another city, between the 2 cities you may not have much population, so the area is usually empty. So they have given the example here of highway I-81, which is in Virginia. If you want example related to our region, obviously Bahrain cannot count for that, but if you go to Saudi Arabia, you're going from Dammam to Riyadh. The Dammam-Riyadh highway is very long, and along the highway you don't have much population. Until you reach Riyadh, it is completely deserted. And in fact, I think that highway or some other highway in Saudi Arabia has a world record of the longest highway. Okay, longest state highway. I just read it a few days ago. So besides those highways, obviously it's an arterial. So arterials don't have on-street parking. Arterials do not have on-street parking. It's too dangerous. Okay, so but alongside these arterials, you have rest areas and truck stops, because they are important. The arterial which is so long and the area is completely empty, deserted, unpopulated, then you need rest areas and truck stops beside the road. Okay, so these rest areas and truck stops have their own parking spaces. Although these parking spaces are not directly on the side of the road, but you can access the parking spaces when you come to that section of the road. Okay. So you prepare a table like this and a figure like this when you are doing a parking study along an arterial. So the previous one was for the entire area, for a region, but this one is along an arterial. So the starting point of the arterial may be in one city, the other one may be in the third or the fourth city. Okay, but you will do all the study for the entire arterial. First of all, in a map, mark all the available rest areas and truck stops. Mark all the available rest areas and truck stops, and then prepare a table like this. Okay, so first of all, mention the section. Okay, the section of the road. Then the beginning milepost and the end milepost. Milepost is the distance along the road. The distance along the road. So the starting point is milepost 0. Okay, then the next point will be the first milepost, the second, third, and fourth, and usually between each milepost you have 1 mile. Okay, in our case it can be kilometers as well, 2 kilometers, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, but milepost means distance along the highway. Okay, so if you are in the first section, your beginning milepost will be first, the end milepost will be the second, and so on. So between the beginning and the end of the section, how much length you have, how many parking spaces are in the rest areas in this section, and how many parking spaces are in the private truck stops in this section. Okay, and then what is the total for this section. Okay, so in this type of a study, you are trying to find out the parking spaces which are given just close to the road. Okay, they are not on street parking areas, but they are just close to the road for the entire length of the road. Okay, and so you mention for each section how many parking spaces of each type you have. So this was about inventory. Okay, then the second set of data is collected from the field itself, from the parking area itself. So in the parking area, basically you conduct an accumulation study. Everything else which I told you in the previous slides, turnover rate, parking load, everything else comes from the accumulation study. So in the accumulation study, first of all, you select the end start time and the end time. For example, usually it is 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, because all the activities usually happen after 6 a.m. and they close before midnight. Okay, and if they don't, they are not good places to be. Okay, leave that place. Anyways, so usually it is that, but you can select, this is just a recommendation. Okay, you don't have to follow that, but basically select the start and end of your study period, which should be according to your area. So in your area, you start when the activities have not started and you end after the activities have finished. Okay, then between that time period, you select intervals. After how much interval you will do the accumulation study. So for example, so they are saying the interval is usually 1 hour or 2 hours. 1 hour, 2 hours. Okay, so for example, you start at 6. Okay, so you will do an accumulation count at 6 a.m. and then you will come back at 7 a.m. if you selected an hourly interval. If you selected 2 hourly interval, then you will do at 6 and you will come back at 8 a.m. and then the next one will be 10 a.m. and so on. Now what you will do in accumulation study, as I told you, count how many vehicles are parked in the area right now. Okay, counting is not enough. You have to also identify the vehicles. So vehicles are usually identified by their license plate number, right? So for each vehicle, you write something to identify the vehicle, that I have observed this vehicle at 6 a.m. for example. Okay, why? So that when you come back after 1 hour or 2 hours and you see the same vehicle there, from the identification you know that this is the same vehicle which I observed at in the previous time interval as well. Okay, this will help you to calculate duration. Okay, so for example, so you don't have to write the whole license plate number. You can just write 2-3 numbers from the license plate, so that next time you come, you can identify, okay, the number is matching, that means the same vehicle. Okay, the number is different, that means a different vehicle. Okay, so at every time interval, you come back and you count how many vehicles you have, and for all the vehicles which are in the parking area, you identify them through their license plate number. Okay, you write the license plate number or a part of the license plate number in your book, in your sheet. Okay, then you can plot an accumulation curve, I told you. So you have the number of spaces occupied and you have the time on the x-axis, and you plot them. You will have accumulation curve. You take the area under the curve, you will have the parking load. Okay, then you can calculate using the turnover and the duration. Using the accumulation study, you can calculate turnover and duration. Okay, duration is, for example, a vehicle of this license plate number was observed twice. Twice means what? If every interval is 1 hour, then twice means 2 hours. If a vehicle is observed twice, that means it was parked for 2 hours. If a vehicle is observed 3 times, that means it is parked for 3 hours. Okay. Assuming that the interval was 1 hour. If the interval is 2 hours and the vehicle is observed for 2 intervals, that means 4 hour time period, 4 hour duration. Okay. So this is why the identification was important, so that we can calculate the duration. Okay. So you see one license plate number is appearing how many times, and then you multiply with the duration of the interval. If the interval is 1 hour, the vehicle is observed 4 times, that means the duration is 4 hours. Okay. And so on. Turnover rate, you count how many vehicles you have observed in the whole day in your accumulation study. So you have the number of vehicles, and you can count the number of spaces. So number of vehicles upon number of spaces will give you turnover rate. I already explained you about that. This is the rate of use of a parking space, right? Now just keep one point in mind. In accumulation study, like I said, one vehicle may be observed for more than one interval as well. The same vehicle is parked even if you have come back after 4 hours. You will not recount the vehicle again. Okay, vehicle observed 4 times means it's still one vehicle. Okay, it doesn't mean you will multiply with 4. The count, it's one vehicle. The duration of that vehicle is 4 hours. Okay, so when you are calculating the number of vehicles parked, each vehicle will be counted once. Okay, so if a vehicle was appeared in more than one interval, still it will be counted as one vehicle. Okay, just keep this in mind. Now to do this whole process, we have electronic data collection systems now. Okay, you may have seen it in city center. Okay, and yeah, now I remembered. If you go to Al Haram Mall in which area is that? Sitra? No. Which area is that? Al Haram Mall, the Kingdom Mall. Which area is that? I forgot the name of the area. Anyways, so in that mall, you will see even in the city center, when you go there, you have lights, right? So if the parking space is occupied, you see the green light and the red light. Okay. Similarly, in other malls, they are showing how many spaces are available. How many spaces are available. So how do they know that? Because there are sensors in the parking spaces. Okay. So whenever a space is occupied, the sensor will turn the light red or will cross that space from the available spaces. So these sensors are sensing for how much time the space is occupied, how many vehicles have come and gone, and so on and so forth. So all accumulation and turnover and duration is automatically taken from the sensors. Okay. One example of this type of a system is Spark parking system. Spark parking system, they have given it in more details in the book. Okay. You can read the paragraph in the book in chapter 4. But I will just tell you the function of the Spark parking system. The first function is provide parking data. So a Spark parking system comprises of sensors which are installed in the parking spaces, below the parking spaces. So these sensors are taking the accumulation, duration, and number of vehicles parked there. Okay, turnover rate and everything, and they provide the data for planning and design of the parking spaces. Okay. These systems can also help you to see the availability of the space, and they can reserve the space for you. So you are at home, you are about to go to a mall, you can use their app and you can see how many spaces are available. Okay, I will reach after 15 minutes, so reserve one space for me after 15 minutes. So that space will not be used by anybody else. Okay, when you reach there, so you will already have a space here. And obviously, with every good thing, you have to pay something. Good things don't come free. Okay, good things don't come free. So Spark parking system has a payment system as well. Okay, so you pay through the app, and the money will go to the parking owner or whatever. Okay. The system can also detect violations as well. So if a car is not parked properly, or it is parked outside the parking space, it will detect it and will convey the information to the authorities. Okay, so this is the whole system, and the good thing from our point of view is the availability of the parking data. Okay, it can give us a parking data without doing anything else. But in our case, you don't have this facility here. You don't have this facility in the university. So when I give you this assignment, you have to do it manually. Okay, you do it manually. Then the next step in the parking study is identification of parking generators, which is done on the map of the study area. So you take the map of the area. Nowadays it's very easy because we have Google Earth and Google Maps, and they have basically all the important facilities in an area. They show all the important buildings in the area. So you take the map of the area, okay, the map from the ministry or from Google or whatever, and you see the area around your parking facility, and you identify the parking generators in that area. What are parking generators? Facilities or buildings to which people come in that area. It can be shopping centers. We already talked about public transport stations, metro stations, rail stations, airports, hospitals. These are all what? Parking generators. Banks. Okay, these are all what? Parking generators. Okay, people come to these facilities because they in large numbers and they have some work there. So when they come there, they have to park their vehicle somewhere. Okay, so these facilities, these parking are generating the demand of your parking area. These facilities are generating the demand of your parking area. That's why we call them parking generators. Okay, so have a map of the area where your parking facility is, and that map identify where do you have the parking, which parking generators you have. Okay, so that you can plan accordingly. Okay, you know how many people are going to this facility, this facility, this facility. So they are all part of the demand of your parking area. Then the collection of parking demand data. And this is a specific study which is done by interviewing the drivers. So you prepare a survey questionnaire and you interview the drivers who are coming to your parking area, or you are coming to your area. What questions you will ask them? First of all, you will do it on typical weekday where the demand is high. Okay, you will do it at a time and day basically where the parking demand is high. So usually that is a weekday, and the parking demand is usually during the business hours, which is this. And interviews take a long time, so you see 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, maybe you are just doing interview of 200 people, but for 200 people to answer you and to complete your question, you need a lot of time. Some of them will not answer you. Okay, so you need that much time. What questions you will ask them? You will ask them about from where they have come, trip origin. What is the purpose of their trip? Why they have come to this area? After parking in this facility, where they will go eventually. So they may be parking in that area. Some of them may be going to a departmental store. Some of them may be going to a clinic. Some of them may be going to a pharmacy or something. So what is the final destination? Some of them may have come for a job interview or something. Okay, so what is their final destination? Okay. Now you can see these things cannot be known from the previous studies, right? You see, you go to the parking area, you see, okay, 100 vehicles. What else? Can you know the origin of each vehicle, from where it has come? Do you know the purpose of the driver to come to that area? No. Do you know after parking the vehicle where the driver has gone? No. Okay, so these things must be taken from the driver himself or herself. So you have to do an interview study, because these things are important for calculating the demand of the area. Okay, so for calculating the demand of the area, you must know which type of drivers are coming, why they are coming, and where they are going in the end. Okay, now there are equations and models available to calculate the parking demand for a specific type of facilities. Okay, tomorrow we will do some examples. We will calculate the demand in general, but they are using the data which I have shown you to be collected. So data which we have collected, using that data we can calculate the demand and supply and everything from some general equations which I will show you tomorrow. But there are models available for specific facilities. For example, there is a model or equation given in your book. I have not made it part of the slides, but it is for a specific facility. So the book is from USA, and that model or equation is not even applicable to all locations of USA. Okay, so there are no equations available which you can say, okay, it will apply to all the locations, all the parking facilities. I can calculate demand of any parking facility using this model. Okay, there are no models like that. Okay, so these models are available, but their application is very limited. Okay, so we will not use them. Just a clarification. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will go for the attendance. Okay, Ala Ahmad, Muhammad Al-Ajab.
Yes,
Ala
doctor.
Muhammad Al-Ajab is here, okay. If you see your name, raise your hand, okay. Zahra Ali Ahmad, Balqis Muhammad, Mahdi Abdul Ilah, and Hala Munir. Mahdi is here, Hala is here, Balqis is not here. Ali Hussain, Fatma Muhammad, Ali Hussain and Fatma Muhammad not here. Umar Muhammad, Manal is here, okay. Muzun Faisal, Umar Muhammad and Muzun Faisal. Muhammad Jafar, Muhammad Jafar, okay, Jafar is here. Anybody else from this section? Anybody else from this section? Okay, people from section 1. People from section 1. People from section 1. Anybody from section 1? Nobody? Okay, good.
Doctor, section 2.
Balqis.
Section 2.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else from any section? Anybody else from any section? Done? Everybody is done? Okay. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.